Hello YouTube, my name is The Legend of DS, and today the Switch turns 1 year old. So congratulations, happy birthday Switch, you did it. You touched the 1 year mark and you've done better than anybody could have expected. So with 1 year come and gone, it's not only time to look back at the year but also to the future, and this video is one of the two videos I'll be doing for today, and this one is looking to the future. This one is to look at what franchises and what IPs from Nintendo can achieve their highest selling numbers on the Nintendo Switch. Two franchises have already done it, two are very close of doing it, so I decided why not see what the rest of them could bring and what numbers could be brought to the table. So let's get started with the first games that have done it have been obviously Splatoon 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Splatoon 2 has already outsold the original in a matter of months. So congratulations to Splatoon 2. You are the first Nintendo Switch title to outsell all of its predecessors. The same thing can be said for well, then again, you only had one, but the same thing can be said for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It already was outsold in a month every single other Xenoblade game. As far as we know, all Xenoblade games sold under 1 million, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has done that, over 1 million. As of right now, there's two Nintendo franchises, or I should say 3D variants of those franchises, that have achieved that mark or are close to achieving that mark, and that's Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild has obviously the biggest chance of the both of them, has already shipped 7 million, and the highest shipped single version of Zelda, I believe, is Twilight Princess, if I'm not mistaken, at 7.8 million, roughly that, with Ocarina of Time standing close to it, or Ocarina of Time over that, but or the reverse, but Twilight Princess having two versions puts it over the original game from the N64. But Breath of the Wild, if not by the end of March, by the end of 2018, should already be the most shipped single version or even combined version of any Zelda game. Heck, Breath of the Wild on Switch might outsell every single Zelda under the sun in terms of sales data. So now let's move on to the other franchises, the one that have a possibility, or they are still to come to the Nintendo Switch and have a possibility of doing those numbers. So there's a lot of Nintendo franchises, but I've decided to do 16, if I'm mistaken, if I miscounted, 16 Nintendo IPs. While obviously some of them are divided into two. Mario, for example, has 3 categories here. Metroid has 2, but I believe that's it. Those are the only two. Yeah, those are the only ones that are separated. So let's start off with the big man, with Mario. And I divided Mario into only 3. I did not bring every single Mario franchise or spin-off. I decided to bring up just these few. So we have 2D Mario, Mario Kart, and Paper Mario. So let's start off with 2D Mario. Can the Nintendo Switch version of 2D Mario outsell the best-selling 2D Mario ever? Well, the best-selling 2D Mario is Mario on the NES, the original Super Mario Bros., selling over 40 million units. Then we have the closest thing that is ever gotten would have been the Nintendo DS version of 29 million and the Wii version at 28. Now we're seeing the Nintendo Switch version break all types of records. We're seeing the Nintendo Switch as of right now is outpacing the Nintendo Wii slightly, but it's outpacing the Wii. And it's looking like it's have a bright future ahead. We are seeing Super Mario Odyssey is completely, and even Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are completely obliterating their Wii counterparts. But could the 2D Mario do it? Well, maybe Mario Maker, although I don't believe it would. I believe that a well-polished, a well-made, a well-crafted and well-created Mario game could, or 2D Mario game, could really push the envelope and sell systems. Now, if it's another 2D Mario, I don't believe it. Another new Super Mario Brothers, that's what I should say. A new 2D Mario, a completely new Mario, 2D Mario, new engine, new art style, new music, new mechanics, could actually be that big of a thing, especially now that Nintendo appears to be, in terms of brand awareness, becoming the Nintendo that was back in the 80s, where it's a cultural phenomenon. We have everybody talking about it. The Switch is very popular, and if it can keep on capitalizing on that, it absolutely could reach those numbers again and even surpass the 40 million. Now let's move on to Mario Kart, and is there a possibility of Mario Kart on Switch beating the 35 million of the Nintendo Wii? The Nintendo Wii is still selling to this day. Go to the Amazon charts right now and you'll see that in the top 100, I believe it's still there. It was during the holiday season, it was during the months of January and February, and I believe it's still there. So it's goddamn impressive that the Wii version is still selling. At 35 million, it becomes a little difficult for any Wii, not any Switch title, but any Mario Kart to do it. Because this leaves us with a question. Which one? As of right now, the Nintendo Switch has one Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Is there going to be a Mario Kart 9 on the Switch? If there is, then both of them won't do it, because there's two versions and they might eat each other out. That's what happens with Pokemon games. They have multiple versions that keep eating and biting at the ankles of the other, especially when it's when there's a third version. When there's three versions coming, that will see in a year, with a time period of a year, they eat each other. So maybe that could happen. Maybe Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, maybe if they bundle it, or if it has DLC coming in the future, maybe we could see receiving a big boost and achieving the Mario Kart Wii numbers and even surpassing it. Then let's move on to Paper Mario, the last Mario franchise that I'll be talking about, that it's standing over the best selling. This number comes from NeoGAF, because this is the only, because I always heard that Paper Mario sold over 4 million, and this is the NeoGAF was the only one that had this number of 4.23 million. All the other numbers I saw were all over the place, so I decided to go with this since it seems the more reliable. Sure, it's the old NeoGAF, but still it's more reliable than Wikipedia and even VG charts and other websites that have sales, quote unquote. So it's 4.23 million. Even if we go by VG charts numbers, it would have been 3.73 million. But 4.3 million is for Super Paper Mario. And can it do it? This is the biggest what if. Because for as much as people like to say that Nintendo doesn't listen to their fans, Paper Mario is the actual result of Club Nintendo. People at Club Nintendo said, or the people that did the what's the call? The quiz? Is that the thing? The survey that Nintendo did for Club Nintendo games, that you had to fill out the survey to get the game, to get Club Nintendo points. People apparently did not like the story, so that's why the games got hacked in story. Now, if Nintendo, I don't think that the Paper Mario games need to be the RPGs that people want. It could just be the action adventure that Nintendo wants. I do believe that if we're gonna do it, you have to do a better battle system. That's what I believe. Most people that I heard had complaints with Color Splash was the battle system, not the game itself. So, can it do it? It depends. If they're gonna go back to the old style, maybe, just because of the fan hype that would generate. That's what I'm thinking with other Nintendo franchises that are coming up next in a little bit. If not, if it's Paper Mario Color Splash again and the battle mechanics are not that good or well polished, I don't think it will, because it once again won't have the fans behind it, so that becomes an obstacle. But with enough marketing and well-crafted marketing and the game being actually very good, it could achieve that. So now let's move on to 2D Zelda. I'm going to now do two 2D franchises. I'm not two 2D franchises, but one franchise that has always been in 2D. Actually, let's go with the 2D games completely. So let's go with 2D Zelda, Kirby, Donkey Kong, and Metroid in 2D. Let's do all of those in a row. So Zelda in 2D, the highest one is the original Zelda at 6.51 million. Can a 2D Zelda achieve that? It's likely. Zelda franchise is bigger than ever. However, will there be a 2D Zelda? I don't think it will. I think that the 2D Zelda team is more suited to move on to other projects. Like Game Explain in one of their most recent videos pointed, maybe they could be the ones bringing back Star Tropics. That would be interesting. Then we have Kirby. Best-selling Kirby is at 5 million. Will it be difficult for a Kirby game to achieve that? Yes, it will. But with the trend that we're seeing on Nintendo games, the trend that we're seeing right now on Amazon with this game and the pre-orders in Japan, it does seem like the game could achieve greatness at the beginning. Will that leg it out to over 5 million? I don't think it's likely. This obviously 5 million is from the first Kirby game. It seems unlikely, but it's possible. I don't think people are putting too much, taking this into consideration too much. It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but hey, you never know. Then let's have Donkey Kong. This is the one of the 2D outside of Mario that has it's more of the iffy ones that can achieve it. Donkey Kong, the best-selling Donkey Kong game, comes from the SNES, the original one, at 9.3 million. That's a huge number. Now, 9.3 million has not been touched since then. The closest I believe we've gotten was the 6.5 million by the Wii version, by Donkey Kong Tropical Returns on the Wii. Can it beat the 9 million on Switch? Well, that's gonna be a tough act, because I don't even think we might be getting a Donkey Kong game on Switch, unless that's what Retro Studios is working on, then maybe, but I don't know who would be working on, outside of Retro, that could be working on it, but I don't think they are. Platonic is a small independent studio that would not really work, mainly because, you know, people are expecting certain things out of these games, and Nintendo would expect Donkey Kong to sell millions upon millions, and the budget would obviously reflect that. So maybe it's unclear, because we don't even have a clear image of if Donkey Kong is going to return to the Nintendo Wii, or to Nintendo Switch. It's iffy, especially now that we have Tropical Freeze making a return on the Switch, the port for the Switch. I find Donkey Kong to be a highly unlikely franchise to appear on the Nintendo Switch. Then we have Metroid in 2D. The best-selling Metroid game has been Metroid, the original, at 2.73 million. This is actually the second highest selling game for any Metroid game. Is it possible? It depends. Metroid Prime is coming out soon, so the Hyper franchise might be back, and if Prime 4 outsells every other game, and it gains new fan base, and the fact that Metroidvanias are all over the place right now, and there are so many of them, so maybe there is one high budget release could make it the best selling one, especially since it's been so long since the last 2D, a brand new 2D Metroid. I know we just had one last year for the 3DS, but that was a remake, a reimagining, so maybe it's possible. The Metroidvania style has been growing, and with Prime 4 just around the corner, the fan base could build and just keep on selling the game. And speaking of Prime 4, the highest selling Prime game is at 2.82 million. Can Metroid Prime do that? Well, Metroid Prime comes off about 8-year hiatus since the last brand new mainline or main series Metroid game. It's been 8 years at the very least since Metroid Other M, and I know Metroid fans don't like that game very much, but again, from what I hear, I've never played it, the most problem that people have with it, it's in fact story, not the game mechanics. From what I hear, mechanics are actually good. So can Metroid Prime 4 outsell the 2.82 million? Sure, if the fan base is pretty hyped for it. The reactions to it have been pretty hyped. That already is beginning to generate buzz. So if the game's good, if the game has that very good marketing, it could easily be the first Metro game to sell over 3 million, to sell even 4 or 5 million. Would have been impressive, sure, for a Metroid game, and definitely possible. So we have to just wait and see. Now let's talk, taking Metroid, about two other franchises that within Nintendo that the fans really want, but Nintendo doesn't seem too keen on releasing them, and that's Star Fox and F-Zero. Well, I kind of agree with Nintendo. I stand with Nintendo a little bit in one of them. I completely stand on the other one, not so much. So let's go with Star Fox, the one that I don't stand so much on Nintendo for not bringing it back. The best-selling Star Fox game is Star Fox 64 at 4 million. Can Star Fox make a return on the Nintendo Switch and sell that? Yes, honestly, of the two of them, I actually believe it could. Nintendo royally screwed up Star Fox Zero with those controls and the way the game looked, so it had a combination of the two, although I will defend them on the thing of graphics, right? It looked that way, and taking a risk with the gameplay, I do believe a traditional Star Fox game that is an actual continuation of the story, not a reimagining or a reboot of the series, can actually do wonders, and it can sell actually pretty well and do over these 4 million, especially now, especially done by Platinum Games. And if it keeps on going, and if Nintendo keeps giving them a budget, not keeps on going, I don't know why I don't know why I keep on going, but if it looks good, it's a good game, it plays well, and it's the old Star Fox, not those weird 2000s to 2000, the games that we had in the 2000s that were spin-offs and all that. That's why I don't stand that much with Nintendo with Star Fox in terms of sales data. But on-rail shooters, big budget ones, are kind of on the fritz right now. There isn't many of them, so it's very unclear if one could sell those numbers. And then we have F-Zero, the one that I actually stand with Nintendo on not bringing it back. The best-selling F-Zero game is 2.85 million, and that comes from the original. Now you might say, but that's our good numbers, that's better than any Metroid game. In fact it is. But after this, the franchise tanks. The N64 version did achieve over 1 million, but GX, the supposedly best from the series, did not sell a million. The GBA games did not sell a million. And you might say, but that's from the GameCube, it's fine, it suffered a little bit, bring it back to a new console and it will sell better. Okay, if that would be the case, explain to me why the original Pikmin sold over 1 million, almost a million more than F-Zero GX, the supposed best in the series. You know, F-Zero is a franchise that I don't think there's a lot of it. I know fans want it, and obviously because of now the hiatus, it could sell better than this. But it's the one franchise that I kind of am with Nintendo on not reviving or bringing back. For as much as fans want it, the franchise just doesn't sell. It's a shame, but it's true. You know, it could do these numbers done well and brought back now just because of how long it has been, but you know, it's a muddied history. The franchise has had one very high but multiple downs, especially with the fact that 3 games did not achieve the 1 million mark, the last 3, and one of them was what the fans called the best in the series. So it could beat, and it most likely would beat, the 2.85 million just because of the hiatus and hype that the fans would create. But that's basically it. If Nintendo decided to do 2 F-Zero games on the Nintendo Switch, I don't think the second one would sell remotely as well. So moving on, and let's combine also these 2 franchises in Pikmin and Kid Icarus. Both of them highest selling games are their first games, with Pikmin at 1.66 million and Kid Icarus at 1.67 million. Now, can they both sell better than these numbers? Yes. Pikmin 3 did better than Pikmin 2, and Pikmin 3 came out on the Wii U, and it sold better than the one that came out on the GameCube did, so that's a possibility. And Kid Icarus Uprising, I believe, would have outsold the original had it not been for the controls choice. The fact that there's a lack of an analog stick and you have to use the touchscreen to fire and shoot, I think it hurt the sales, and I believe many people will agree with me when I say that. So, you take that, you put it on the Switch with dual analog, and it can absolutely beat those numbers. Same thing with Pikmin. You make a good game with another game with good pointer controls, 1.66 million, it's in the bag. So I left the big 3 outside of Mario and Zelda, the big other 3 to the end. Super Smash Bros., Pokemon and Animal Crossing have all been left to the end. So out of all these 3, let's talk about Animal Crossing first. Animal Crossing's best-selling game is the DS Wild World, I believe, selling 12.14 million, with the 3DS version coming close to it. So, with the 3DS version coming close to it, and the Switch being just as portable as... the Switch being not just as portable, but just as social as every other console out as the other 2, I think it's a very big possibility. The Switch is doing very well in Japan. It has yet to receive a price cut, and Animal Crossing is just a franchise that's gonna explode, especially if the online features are terrific. and Nintendo is most likely going to make sure, because of their online service being now paid for, that there is a big incentive to actually buy the 20 euros a year so that you can access online. And Animal Crossing could just be one of those games that really thrives now with the paid online because of how many more features it's added. So now we are left with Smash Brothers and Pokemon. So I'm going to leave Pokemon to the end, and let's talk about Super Smash Brothers. The best single version of Super Smash Brothers is Super Smash Brothers Brawl on the Wii, selling 12,091,000. But if we are to combine the versions, the 3DS and the Wii U versions of the Smash Bros. 4, it sold 13.16 million. Now Wii U and 3DS combined just about sold the same as the Wii. A lot under as of right now, because Wii U sold about 14 million, the 3DS is about 70 million, so combined is about 85 tops. The Wii sold over 100. So is it possible? Yes. If Nintendo treats Smash Bros. 4 Switch the same way they did 4, the hype is going to keep on building and building and building, and the fact that the Switch is an actual successful system, and it's a success in a way that the Wii U never was, and the 3DS also never was in its first year, and it's achieving greater heights than both of them. Smash Brothers done the same way could be huge, it will be huge, and sell over both of these and achieve the 15, 16, heck, it couldn't even touch the 20 million mark. So it's a definite possibility. I think it will, because these numbers, although high, are not that high. Mario Odyssey, the best-selling 3D Mario, is about Smash Brothers 4 or Smash Brothers Brawl level, 12 million, 12 and a half, 13 million, I believe, for Galaxy and 3D Land, and Odyssey is already at 9 million in 2 months. You know, it's gonna do it. So we leave the biggest for last in Pokemon. The best-selling Pokemon game has been Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green, selling 31.37 million. This is all the way back in the 90s. So and on the Game Boy. So let's be honest, can Pokemon on Switch achieve these numbers and even surpass them? I'm going to be honest and say the possibility is lower I should say, than low, but lower. But yes, it's Pokemon in HD. People are gonna flock to it. People are gonna want it. People are gonna want to play it. It's gonna create hype just because of it's the first Pokemon, the first true Pokemon on a home console. Sure, the Switch is a hybrid, but Nintendo's gonna market that way. It's also the first Pokemon in HD. You take the fact that it's the first HD Pokemon, the first Pokemon that you can play on the television. I know we had Pokemon games in the past that were on the TV, and they were similar to the DS, the handheld games, but this is the first true, brand new generation that's gonna be playable on the television. Sure, you had XD, the Gale of Darkness, and XD Colosseum, but they were not they were a part of Generation 3. They were not the beginning or the main games of Generation 3. They were nice side stories. We're finally getting that Pokemon game that we all have been waiting for. Now, will it be, if they try to do something like Breath of the Wild and Odyssey, then I would have told you 30 million? Please, it's gonna do at the very least 40 to 50. Why? Because a big alteration as that with Pokemon, a franchise already that goddamn popular. Here's the thing, Pokemon has never dropped in popularity. Sure, they've never achieved the 30 million, but Diamond and Pearl sold 18 million. Sun and Moon and X and Y are about the 16 million. Black and White sold about the same. It never was about the install base. It has always been about the games. It could very well do it. It most likely will do it. So that's basically it. I just spoke for about 25 minutes. That's a good thing, and my voice and my throat hurts a little bit for speaking for so long without taking a break or even drinking something. So thank you guys for watching. Tell me in the comment section how many of these franchises do you think will surpass their best selling versions, and how many of them will. How many of them do you think won't? And what other franchises do you think that Nintendo will bring back to do these numbers? I didn't bring more because it was already already a lot, but I know there's a lot that could be brought, like Star Tropics, Wave Race, Golden Sun, but I wanted to keep this not short, but we have enough franchises, but also not too many franchises. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I've been The Legend of DS, and I'll see you guys next time.